All right, hang tight. Let me do a couple quick editing and then we will get going. All right, give me a minute. We'll get cranking here shortly. Let's do a little editing. Okay. There we go. All right. All right. So one, two, okay. Hang tight, people. We're gonna start soon. Just doing a couple quick edits as usual. Date. Chain to save. All right, we're good to go. Save that. And let's come back over here. All right. True indeed. All right, so just give it a minute. This was a last minute thing to come live. Let this get out there and give time for a couple people to get here, some more people. I want to run through some quick announcements. I'll do that in a sec. Let's make sure. All right. My V. Just saw that name pop up. Hope all is well. Are you still Georgia or are you Florida? Maybe respond. All right, just gonna give it another minute, then I'll start these announcements. Tell YouTube be fucking around with this algorithm shit, man. Shit is crazy. All right, wanted to make sure I got on here one last time before the sixth annual Journey of the Black Adept Conference, which is only a week away, believe it or not. And it's a little hectic right now. We're trying to get all this organized. So I wanted to get on here one last time. Believe it or not, begins next week. So it's just about 7. Well, the actual official conference begins next Friday. So we got 8 days. So I wanted to at least get on here one more time before then. As you guys see, I've been posting a lot of little short videos, throughout the week. I have actually 2 more I did today. I'll upload those later this evening. And then I wanted to come on here live because, again, I know next week's going to be a little hectic. Also, let me just put out there, I know some of you are reaching out to me that are on Patreon. I will set up our sessions for the month. Just be patient. This is a little bit of a hectic month. So I will squeeze those sessions in between with readings. But next week, it's going to be hard for me to do pretty much anything after Monday, Tuesday. I'll pretty much be focused on the conference all throughout, Sunday going into the following week. But anyway, we will make it work. Just be patient. A little hectic month. I even changed. We were supposed to have a Patreon class tonight, but my travel schedule changed. I'll be leaving a little bit later. So we're going to do the Patreon, the Saturday Sith Dark Side Alchemy and Philosophy class. If you're on Patreon, you should have got a notification a few hours ago. Well, that class, we were, instead of doing it tonight at 8, which I couldn't, I wasn't free till right now. We will do that Saturday, 3 p.m., our normal Saturday time. All right. All right. So let me run through a couple quick announcements. Fraternal blessings to all. Quick shout outs from the beginning here. Can't get to everybody. Metaphysics, Asiatic Soldier, Michael Hyson, My V. Yeah, I heard My V you coming. That'd be good. I know it's been a while. So yeah, we'll have to connect on that level. That'll be good. Good. It'll be good to see you come back through. I know some people had asked about you, making sure everything was good. All right, so let's run through some announcements. Obviously, first and foremost, most important thing, yes, we have the 6th annual Journey of the Black Adept Conference, which will begin officially, after the meet and greet, but on Friday. All right, so just again to run through the format, because this will pretty much be the last time I'll be able to promote it live. I know some of you are very well aware. You see, I've been promoting it on all the videos, even the short ones I'm uploading as it's grind time. All right, so for those that don't know what it is, this is the 6th year that we've done it, and the purpose of it, which is going to tie into the title of this video, our cycle or calendar or phases, equinoxes, whatever you want to call it, our year, quote unquote, spiritually, that is, comes to an end around this time of year. So I designed the conference to do it at our high spiritual time, which they call the Devil's Sabbath, or Halloween, or Hallows Eve, or All Souls Eve. And I'm going to talk a little bit about all this, which is the preparation for us going into darkness or stasis, which they call the winter solstice. I'm going to get into all that in the video. So this conference, again, is always geared around us reflecting on this past year, what we were successful at accomplishing, what we failed at, what we got to work on to improve ourselves. We don't look at going into right-hand path and fluffy philosophies always promote the so-called winter solstice as a time of darkness and cold and as if it's in stasis or stagnation. And I'm going to explain that. We'll go through that a little bit. We don't look at it like that, because we go into that darkness. It's a deep time of reflection. It's the highest time of the year when you should be really focusing on yourself, and also a time of the year when you're supposed to be now setting your intentions for what you're trying to accomplish for next year, quote unquote, or next cycle. And what can you do to improve on the things that you failed in this past cycle or seasons, right? So the conference, the work, the rituals are usually focused around that in some shape, form, or fashion. So it's a 2-day event that kicks off Friday morning from 9 to 4 p.m. We will have speakers, workshops, presentations. But I've changed it a little bit this year. If you come in past years, we're going to usually we have 8 speaker spots, but we're going to limit that to 6 this year. Reason for that is we're going to focus more on some hands-on ritual work. We will have still have the 6 presentations, but instead of the 8, but we will focus more on some hands-on ritual work. We've added to one of the slots on Friday and Saturday a drum healing ritual. So on Friday, we have presentations from 9 to 4 p.m., classes, workshops, presentations. We take a break after that. Everybody goes back to, if they have a hotel, this or that. We re-meet back up about 7:30, 8 o'clock-ish, and we do a group ritual. The first one will be at the venue that we're using. The second night, we will be doing the second day, the same schedule, time frame, classes, presentations, workshops from 9 to 4 p.m., take a couple hours break. We come back in the evening. Our second night working this year will be out at the cemetery. Okay. And again, I don't disclose those rituals. I don't record any of those rituals. I don't do anything like I do on Patreon, because I try to keep this type of event very personal, special, and it's something that stays in the dome, stays with you, for a long period of time. And then Sunday, there'll be a Q&A session, an open discussion, question and answer from noon to 4 p.m. That closes out the event. So a little bit, we're going to change it up a little bit this year. Again, I want to start now, again, focusing on work, spiritual work, ritual work, hands-on approach. I don't want to just keep it about a bunch of talking and dialoguing, which is cool. But the only way we're going to grow spiritually is by putting in the work, right? Could be too much talking and too much bullshit and all that. So we're trying to dumb that down, a bit. So if you're interested in attending the conference in person, you could also attend virtually, which gives you access to the classes, the workshops, and the presentations during the days of Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So if you want to attend virtually, and how you attend virtually, basically you sign up and then I send you a Zoom link and you can be live in the sessions via Zoom. So if you want to attend virtually or in person, basically the cutoff day for in person is the day before. And if you're signing up virtually, you can sign up until I'd probably say late the night before. It's going to be hard to add you afterwards. So it's not really particular cutoff, but at least sign up no later than the day before. And also for those that do want to come in person, if you're traveling, everything is very convenient and close. The venue is minutes from the Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport. That's where you want to fly into, Fort Lauderdale. And it's minutes from major hotels. There's great Airbnbs in the area, which a lot of people who have come over the years, they do the Airbnb. They seem to get a better value and price for it. And a lot of people Uber it. You don't even really need to rent a car because everything is so close. Unless you have other plans in between and you want to do things, well, that's a different story. But majority of the people come usually Uber it. And that's how most people did it last year and the year before. So very convenient. The major expense basically is your travel, getting a plane ticket if you get a good deal on it. It's why I try to keep it that same time of the year so you can plan for it. But anyway, I just want to make sure I get that last ditch out there about it. And again, the event is structured also on us having a yearly event that we could get together, in fellowship, because there's not a lot of us like that on this path, right? Not a lot of us have access to being around like minds. So it's good, to have that experience. So it's something that's also set up for that reason also, okay? So if you're interested, shoot me an email. You see all the information of all these announcements I'm running through is on the ticker on the bottom. Also, if you are interested in signing up for the classes that I do private classes every month. I do 3 every month. Okay. And that's on the Patreon page. That's the way you sign up for the classes. Patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti. Tier 3 gives you access to 3 private classes I do every month on Patreon for Patreon members only. There's a bunch of ongoing series on there. Sith, Dark Side, Alchemy, and Philosophy class. We're 8 deep in that now and counting. Shadow Work class, 18 and counting. Clepothic Sorcery, Luciferian Magic, Self-Mastery, Esoterical Occult Bible Study class. I just also added the Necromancy and Dark Witchcraft class. So all of those things are on there. And when you do join, as I've said, and I've been saying in a lot of the most recent videos, you get access to everything in the archive too. It's not just the day you join moving forward. And there's a lot of content in the archive that you get access to. Okay. So definitely check that out. Patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti. All right. Also, if you're interested in a reading or a consultation, you see the email going on the ticker. Reach out to me. I'll send you a list of the different types of readings I offer. Clepothic demonic readings, Egyptian oracle readings, shadow work readings. I'll send you a full list. Just shoot me an email. I'll get that over to you. Also, keep in mind some of the short videos that I do. I upload those also to the Primordial Chaos podcast in audio format. So don't forget to check that out. If you want to just listen while you're on the go, you don't have to watch. You get the audio version of it. You could be moving around, working, exercising, walking at the park, just chilling around the house or whatever. Driving in the car, you can now listen to that via audio format. All right. That pretty much is the announcements that I want to run through. Also, we are live. Oh, actually, let me click the live on Instagram. Just remembered. We are live on Primordial Chaos 9 on Instagram right now as I speak. We are also live on Primordial Chaos on Facebook. All right, so don't forget to check out those platforms where these lives, and then I also upload this also to the Facebook page. All right, that's pretty much the announcements that I wanted to run through. So, how's this? Can't. Who the hell's that? All right. All right. So that's kind of what I wanted to run through. Give me 1 second. I'm sorry. So like a lot of shit going on. All right. All right. So you see the title, right? And the reason why I titled it, as I said when I was talking about the conference in the beginning, it's all in alignment with what we're getting ready to do. Now, going into the season of darkness, right? So let's talk a little bit about that. Okay. As I said, this time of the year, depending on your perspective, and when we look at seasons and when we look at cycles, and we they represent change. That's the key thing. Regardless of your perceptions on the equinox, things of that nature, they represent seasons of change. Now, what one calls the winter solstice or the darkness is important to us because this is the time of the year. If you've been, working with me, or been a subscriber on the channel, or you work with me on Patreon, etc., you know what this time of the year means to us. So as the cycle gets, is getting ready to wind down, or what they call the calendar year, their false concept of time, we more are in tune with it on a cyclical aspect. We're approaching that dark season again, right? When we talk about being engulfed in darkness to be purified, right? Because true being bathed in, and this is symbolic, metaphorical, but it applies to the understanding of our spiritual path. When we use that phrase, one must go into the darkness to do the work of the light, we're talking about when somebody has to submerge themselves in the void and the darkness to obtain true intellect, right? That's what we do on this path. We don't avoid the darkness. We don't shun the darkness. We don't accept the concepts of what darkness is through religious ideology, which is really stupidity and ignorance, because they've spooked it out and made it evil according to their religious definitions. When I've said many times before, it would be foolish for any religious believer in the Bible to think darkness was a bad thing, because their monotheistic God, as I've said many times before, has its origin in darkness. All you got to do is read the first chapter of Genesis, the very first, from the first verse on, and it tells you that God's spirit roamed across his spirit roamed across the void and the deep, right? And also common sense. Before God said, "Let there be light," is confirmation that he existed in the darkness. But the important thing to pay attention to, notice the chaos and the destruction and all the wickedness. Okay, when I say wickedness, that takes place in those, but none of that started to happen until they came into what? The light, the artificial light, right? Because in that silence of darkness is where one truly obtains, and I say personal peace, not this illusionary world peace that's promoted. When you are in that silence, and there's tranquility and healing in that silence and darkness, right? That's when you are truly, at home, rooted in the origin of where you emerged from. It's no different when you were in the womb or the dark, watery abyss of your mother. And I've said this many times before, okay? When you were in that dark, watery abyss, that's when you were, quote unquote, in your safe haven. And you always remember that, because even to this day, you could be a full grown, aged adult, and you will still revert back to that fetal position if you're just laying on the couch, laying in your bed. What do you do even when you get cold? Most people lay to the side and they get into that fetal position. That's because subconsciously you've never, ever will disconnect or forget that, because that's your first recollection of existence, right? So when they talk about the dark, watery abyss and the void, right, whether they mention it as the chaotic waters of Nun in ancient Egypt, right, whether it's Tiamat and the chaotic waters of Leviathan, right, all of it is connected, right? It's all your point of origin. It's all in that darkness, in that void, in that abyss is where true consciousness emerged. So when we're talking about the void, the abyss, we're talking also of connecting to the deep aspects of your subconscious mind that you've been suppressing and rejecting for many years for many different reasons, right? Indoctrination being, right up there as number one, knowingly and unknowingly, right? Because it starts, with the programming at a very, very early age against our will. And again, it's a cycle, but we can break that cycle now being aware and knowing, right? Because it's simply, when we look at it from a couple of different aspects, one, everybody's raised a little bit differently, right? So when I talk about the programming, we have to understand culture, your heritage, your nationality, and sometimes religion, depending on your nationality, connects super strong with the programming, right? So there's a lot of that deprogramming that a lot of us think we're past it. And this is the point of shadow work. A lot of us think, oh, no, I'm past all that. Oh, no. Yeah, outwardly you may be. Outwardly you can make a declaration, or I don't believe in any of that stuff, or this, or that religion, or that path. No, I've given that all up. Yeah, well, you might have on the surface, but sometimes we're not fully conscious and aware of how psychologically the residue that it's left us. Give me 1 second. I'm going to send, I think we're going to have Raven join us. Let me send her an invite. Hold on. Hang tight. All right. Just make sure that went through. All right. Yeah. So, as I was saying, some of us are not fully aware the psychological effects that it's had on us. And as I've said many times before, the mind is a super delicate and intricate thing. Okay. Super delicate and super intricate. Right. And we have to be aware and self-monitor our behavior and how we react to certain things, because that's usually a telltale sign of how it is or is not affecting you, right? And that's important to understand. Hold on. Try to get this thing over. Give me a sec. There we go. All right. So going into the season of darkness, okay? So as I've said in the past, and I kind of want to focus on it because we're on this time of the year, when we hear the word stagnation and stasis, right? Most people will identify that with, oh, that doesn't sound too uplifting or positive, right? Because a lot of these terms have been ostracized, given a negative connotation. It's been used in somebody's negative perspective, maybe from religion. Because when you hear these words, stasis, void, darkness, oh, that sounds evil. Well, it depends on the perspective that you're coming from. Of course, if you're religious, it's going to sound negative to you, quote unquote, but you're not going to understand it, if you're only going to look at it from that perspective, because it goes beyond that, right? So in stagnation and stasis, okay, there's two ways you can look at it. One can be in a state of stasis or in a state of stagnation, quote unquote, where they're just not moving forward, they're not moving backward, nothing is changing, right? They're not doing anything to manifest that change, okay? So that type of stasis or stagnation is not a good thing. That's a bad thing, right? But there's another form of stasis and stagnation that we use and approach in this season of darkness, where in that stillness and silence is where we stop, reflect. Because what tends to happen is, this is why sometimes why people struggle to get results, because they never take time, one, to just go into that silence and darkness and reflect. They never give the right time period to pause and kind of filter out the influx of thoughts that are coming in through their head constantly. When you go into that space of silence and darkness and stagnation or stasis, this is when you find out what percentage of your thoughts are just how much bullshit you focus on, right? And this is why sometimes people, they struggle on getting things in alignment and organized, because when they stop and take that pause and you really start to track and identify all of these thoughts that come in deep waves, it could be stressing about nonsense and bullshit, overstressing about things, giving your energy and time, which is pulling you away from your own personal spiritual growth, right? And but look, I get it. I know it's hard. Okay, I'm not saying it's easy, because the day and time we live in, the world that we live in, it's a very hectic time. But I'm just going to keep it 100% with you. It's not an excuse, because again, I always hear people finding reasons why they can't, but never even coming up with one reason why they can. I get it. But part of the discipline of being on this path is structuring those thoughts, that inner reflection. I've said many times over the years, one thing I do periodically with people that I am in contact with, or that come here and we do ritual work together, there's a simple exercise to show you, if your mind is in that, reacting in that way, okay? Place yourself simply in a dark room in silence, nothing, no candles, no incense, no music, no distractions, just silence and darkness, and clear your mind. And sit there in silence after you clear your mind and see what natural thoughts start to emerge. Yes, at first you might think of stupid shit like, oh, there's a piece of chicken in the refrigerator I'm going to eat, or tomorrow I'm going to get up and run, just because, as I've said before, your conscious mind is going to look for something to absorb, because it always needs to be entertained, right? Once you're able to discipline and block out the distraction from your conscious mind, then you can tap into the subconscious and see the thoughts of the real you that will emerge. Not all of it's going to be pretty, because this is almost like a shadow work exercise. Some of it's going to be intense and a bit disturbing. Some of it will be very pleasant, joyful. A bunch of different things are going to come up, okay? A bunch of different things are going to come up. But you can start to focus and centralize in on those thoughts and then reflect what, in the influx of these thoughts, you're going to be able to clearly separate and distinguish, man, I've been thinking about some stupid shit. Or man, some important stuff came up there that I need to focus on. So what that silence and darkness does, it gets you focalized, it gets you focused on the core centralized thoughts that you need to be paying more attention to. Okay. You can't do this when you got all these different distractions coming through. And look, that's part of the challenges of living life, period. So that's never going to go away. Okay. And as things change in this world, it's becoming a more fast-paced world, a more technological world. You know, now they got so many more distractions. As this technology advances, you've got to find a method of how you stay grounded and harmonized through that process. Because though some of it is very beneficial and positive, but at the same token, a lot of it is very distracting. Okay. So when we go to this time of the year, when we really lock in and focus, we also need to be at this point of the year, reflect back now from last October to this October. What goals did you set? Okay, number one. Number two, be honest with yourself. Out of the goals you set, what did you accomplish? Majority of what you wanted to accomplish? Be honest with yourself. And then when you identify what you didn't, what you failed at, really, what you didn't succeed at, or you fell short, ask yourself, why did I fall short of that goal, of trying to accomplish, that particular goal, right? These are the things you need to be focused on. Sort that out. What can I do going into the next cycle as we go into this darkness? What ritual work can I do? What can I focus on in this strong time of change so I can, one, improve in that area and accomplish that goal, and also start setting your intent for goals moving into the next cycle, okay? This is all important. This is what you want to start focusing on. Hold on, let me bring Raven in. What's going on, Raven?
What's going on? What's going on,
Good.
good people?
Good. So we got Raven here with us. I'm just kind of going over the conference and kind of this time of year, what we're talking about, this, that, and the other. The darkness aspect, a couple of things that we need to, in that reflection, you have to be honest with yourself, okay? And this is something that I find people either dance around or struggle, okay? Rube, I'm sorry, something just caught my attention in the chat. Ruben C, it's funny, and I say this with all funny. It's Baniti, not Panini. Okay, but that's funny because I'm thinking of Panini, but it's all good. It's all good. It's my new name, everybody. Panini. Let me stop. All good. Just having fun with it. Being honest with yourself is not always an easy task, right? Sometimes, now I want to say this the wrong way, admitting to failure, but that's technically what it is. It's not an easy thing for some who are still struggling with parts of their ego, right? If you don't have the capabilities to do that, it's going to be tough for you to do shadow work. It's going to be tough for you to make changes in your life. It's going to be tough for you to really admit, okay, these are my shortcomings. These are areas I need to improve and work on. Therefore, it's going to be hard for you to set goals, lay out your intentions, and what I'm talking about tonight, right? we also have to understand the destructive and the productive parts of our ego, right? And this is a hard thing. We all have ego to a certain degree. I don't give a fuck who you are, okay? And some of it's, positive and beneficial, but some of it is self-destructive. And I stress that word, self-destructive. Okay, pride is a form could be a form of a weak part of your ego, right? Not the ability not to admit when you're wrong is a destructive part of your ego, right? You know how many times simply with problems and issues, how things could de-escalate and be resolved when it's just as simple as sometimes saying, you know what, my bad, I fucked up. You're right. I apologize. That's hard for some people to do. But your pride gets into, well, that wouldn't have happened if such and such and this and that. Sometimes it's just as easy as just saying, my bad, you're right, I fucked up. Okay? You've got to learn. We have to learn to do that, especially as we get older. And I'm not talking about in age just. I'm talking about in wisdom. As we get wiser, we have to have the ability to suppress those weak aspects of our ego. If you want to chime in, just chime in anytime, because you know me, I just keep blabbing my mouth. So you intervene whenever you see fit. So I'm kind of going over the conference and why we set it up and why we do it this time of the year and how this kind of ends, our cycle and season as we kind of reflect on the past year. And then we start setting goals and intentions for the upcoming year. And how everything pretty much in the conference is geared around that to some shape, form, or fashion. Okay. So
most definitely.
The void.
Yeah.
Go ahead. What were you saying?
No. I just was agreeing, and that's very much true. That all of this really came about just out of that need for not only just gaining experience, but that structure that you're speaking of, that ability to address things that we need to address within ourselves or to discover and uncover within ourselves. So that's what it came about. The conference, look, I'm going to say it this way. A lot of people look at this like you get out of something what you put into it. So if you feel as if the experience of it is not worthy, or if the experience of it is one thing to do something on your own. It's just one thing to do rituals on your own. It's another thing to do it in a group setting. It's another thing to do it with people or with someone who has experience in it as well. You gain a different level of knowledge. And if you are really taking your path, your growth seriously, I definitely look forward to this time. I always look forward to the group rituals, but I definitely look forward to this time of year because it is about setting the tone for next year. As Benita was stating, we try to think of things or have it set to where, let's give the foundation and build on top of that. Too many people don't do that. I don't think in any platform, Benita, you can tell me better, or too much from what I hear, spiritual schools, you have to lay down the foundation and you have to understand to a level what it is that you're doing. So this time of year is, as Benita is stating, is very important because it sets the tone moving forward. So, yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. I think people should really take advantage of it. Okay, cool beans.
Yeah.
Cool beans.
Yeah, I think just see if he's available.
He's busy. I really think people should take advantage of the fact, to come. Enjoy. It's a good time. You learn. You get to meet people like mind, of like mind, of like
Exactly.
mind, and you get to, be amongst your peers. Okay, you get to be amongst your peers, and we all know when you're amongst your peers, you grow, you learn, you have a different type of experience. Um, so yeah, that's what I'll lend to that.
Yeah, good. And again, we're focusing more this year on more ritual work, spiritual practices, things of that nature. Want to change it up a little bit, and this year our outdoor working again will be a cemetery working. So trying to give it a little more hands-on approach. So as I said in the beginning, we've reduced. We used to do 8 presentations, 4 in each day. So we're cutting 1 out on each day, and we're gonna fill those spots with more ritual and spiritual work. We're gonna open the conference this year with a ritual, which we've never done that before. So more of a hands-on approach. We're trying to, again, as I said, the only way you're going to grow and change on this path is by putting in the work. The ritual is for that transformation, change. That's why we do ritual work. I mean, that's why I do it. I don't do it just to be doing it. I don't do it because, I want to be, that YouTube magician with the dark robe on and hail Satan and all that shit. No, we don't. That's not what this is about. Right? This is about trying, what the Patreon page and what my YouTube page is about is those 5 points of self-mastery on the pentagram. That's the goal. That's why we all should be on this path. 1, to master ourselves spiritually, knowledge of self, mentally, emotionally, physically, and financially. You put them in any order you see fit based on your needs. The first one, though, never changes, in my opinion. Right? Everybody's life is different, so you can adjust 2 to 5. One never changes, because without mastering that first point, nothing in your life will change. Trust me when I tell you.
Right.
So that's what the precept of what we do, and what it's all about. So also, for those that are doing the Luciferian work, right? We do have the Luciferian Magic and Self-Mastery class, which we know the month of December for practicing Luciferian is a high, packed month of spiritual energy. And December 25th, when you get into the mythology of Christmas and you get into its origins, right? We really know how they came up with that being the birth date of the character that they call Jesus. And I've shared this with you guys several times over the years. Ask any real theologian, and they will be honest with you, especially if you ask, and I did this a couple of times past over the years. I've asked the Catholic priest, just I know, but I just want to see if they would be honest. And a Catholic priest was straight up honest with me. He's like, "Well, that's that's not really the birth date. They choose that date to show you that even in their religions, they're connected to nature and the occult." And I don't even want to say paganism, because when you say the word pagan, you're just saying foreigner. People think pagan, they associate the word pagan and paganism with like some foreign religious practice. Go look it up. It's just, shit, you can go into Raymond Buckland's book on witchcraft and Wicca, and he'll tell you the basic meaning of it, right? Or I should say witcha, as I told people on Patreon. That's a poor word for witch, but that's another story. But my point being is, they come up with that date per se in the Catholic Church because December 25th, out of their Gregorian calendar, it is the day on the Gregorian calendar with the least amount of hours of sunlight or daylight. So they choose that date because they say, well, that's symbolic of Christ representing the light and coming into the world of darkness. This sounds beautiful, don't it? It's a good sell. I gotta give them that. But we know we know historically and factually, if you really break it down, it's literally impossible if you even go according to their biblical books. Because even if you use the Hebraic calendar, let's just say we use the Gospel of Luke. It says the angel Gabriel came to the Virgin Mary in the 6th month. If you look at the 6th month on the Hebrew calendar and calculate it 9 months out, you'd be around June, right? So it just factually, it makes no sense. I'm just saying, if you wanted to do the math. But to a Luciferian, despite all that, not to spend too much time on, we know the religious aspect of it is nonsense. Despite that, a lot of practicing Luciferians do initiatic work, right? A lot of you guys that are on the Patreon and you did yourself Luciferian initiation, this would be a time of the year. If you weren't ready for it last year and you weren't sure and you didn't do it, maybe you're ready now. This would be the time to start preparing for that, because there's an intense amount of energy in doing that ritual. And as I've told people on Patreon, that's a commitment. And when I say a commitment, I'm not just talking about a physical commitment. That's a mental, emotional, and a spiritual commitment. And you must be willing to invest the time and energy to do that type of work. Okay. So if you're thinking about it, consider it. Or maybe last season or cycle, you just, was still trying to grow more, maybe learn more. But I will say this, and please, I just got to be clear on this shit right here. Please do not email me and ask me, do you think I'm ready? I told you guys before, I can't tell you that. But I will tell you this. If you're asking me, do you think I'm ready? I'm going to tell you no. Because how you know you're ready is real simple. There's no doubt. You have this 100% feeling of certainty. You're motivated. You want to get right into it, and you're not hesitant at all. It's the best I can tell you. But don't email me to get my opinion, and then I go, yeah, I think you're ready. And then you do something, and it doesn't turn out the way you thought, or it could create more problems. I don't want you coming back to me saying, but you told me to do it. I don't tell people what they should and should not do. You guys have to figure that part out for yourself. So you'll know you're ready. You hear this saying all the time, but now hopefully that explains it. You'll know you're ready when you're ready. But this is a very high time of year. We've designed ritual work every year at the conference. Our first main indoor working on the first night is always geared towards what I'm talking about in some shape, form, or fashion, right? It's not just, we're just going to come together and just do some bullshit, right? There's a high time of this season of pulling from a lot of different energy, right? When we get into this time of the year, we know obviously of what the commercial world, or what do they call that? What do they
Secular.
call it? Say it again.
Secular.
The secular
The
world.
secular world.
That's the word I was looking for. The secular world, when their commercial season of the holiday season comes, I keep trying to tell people there's a heightened amount of spiritual energy out there. If you understand how you can feed off of that power, whether it's through vampiric work, whether it's through Luciferian sorcery work, because there's so much energy in the atmosphere during that time of season that you're able to take any form of it and transform it and use it in your own personal growth. Okay. That's why it's such a powerful year, though it's quote unquote what they call mainstream, the winter solstice, falsely promoted as a season of stagnation and cold and darkness and all of those terms that they've described it over the years. But to us, again, it's a time of inner reflection, spiritual growth. This is why you should really be focusing on, again, what did I succeed this year? What did I fail at? Be honest with yourself. And then set my goals and what I need to work on moving into the next year, right? This is the time where you should also be creating a lot of personal work, deep forms of shadow work, right? This is why, like I say, I pretty much disappear over that period from what they call Thanksgiving to right after New Year's. I take that 5 to 6 week period where we all should do that in some shape, form, or fashion, where we need to just put everything else on pause, which we do that throughout the course of the year and focus on ourselves. But I'm talking about put everything on pause. And you should be focusing on yourself, spiritual work, rest, rejuvenation, doing things to get yourself revitalized. When you really take that time, that period, you'll find out as you go into what they call the new Gregorian calendar, or their following year, which really is the beginning of our cycles, right? Approaching what they call that spring equinox, you will see a serious jump in spiritual growth when you're coming out of this cycle and then going into what they call, which represents spring. What they say is, which is true, is a cycle of growth, regeneration, renewal. But it's funny how they'll call that cycle that after the winter solstice, but they never really tell you how you get to that growth, regeneration, and renewal. You get to it by going into that darkness, that space.
Well, it's like working with the seasons. Look, not to cut you off, my apologies, but it's like, as you were saying earlier, this world, this nature tells you the cycles that you should be in, right? The winter, this time of year, it's all about darkness. It's dark now. It's getting dark earlier. It tells you where you should be. Fall is things are falling. The leaves are falling off the trees. It's shedding the old to get ready for the new, right? And that's what the winter is all about. You're shedding. You are preparing yourself. Seeds do not. You can plant seeds, and if farmers on you here, some seeds you plant in the winter so that they can surface during the springtime, right? But you plant them actually in winter because they're germinating during that time. So in essence, that's what you're saying, like what we should be doing during this time of year. We should be germinating. We should be figuring out, replenishing, getting that energy together so that, when spring comes, we are now springing forth into action, right? That's what you're saying, right? Am I hearing you correctly? We're springing forth into action. We're moving. We're doing the things that we discovered during the winter months or whatever, that we may need to work on, whatever that may be for each and every one of us. And, summer is you seeing the fruition of that. And, and then you start the cycle all over again. That's what nature does. Yeah. Nature goes through those different type of cycles, and we all should go through it as well. When you were speaking on, I'm going to backpedal a little bit, on having that confidence to know when you're ready to do something. Sometimes I feel like if someone's coming to you with that kind of question, Baniti, to me, it just sounds like, I think there are maybe some outside influences having them to feel maybe as if they should or should not, or you just, giving them that level of confusion, not knowing if they should or should not. We should be trusting in ourselves to know when we should be doing something and to not do something. And for me, my thoughts on that is, it don't matter how long you have been on the journey, on the path. Sometimes I feel you may need to stop and pause and reflect and maybe adjust some things. Maybe all things are not for everybody. And it's up for each and every person to know and understand that. But I think, I don't be on social media. It's just too much. It's too overwhelming. It's too many people. I don't care what genre it is, what it is, clout chasing. Everybody want to be seen and known. And you have to be careful when people are like that and putting out that type of energy, that you don't get sucked into that world and make yourself feel like you're less than what you are, giving yourself doubt when you don't necessarily have to do that, because you're paying attention to shit that you shouldn't.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah.
So I see here, Zazzles. I guess you're from Minnesota. I'm watching your Minnesota Wild play my Panthers right now. Losing 2-0. Hopefully we can come back. But on that note, it's funny because for whatever reason I was sitting here and hibernation came to me. I said, why is the word hibernation running through my head? I literally, as I was talking right before Raven was just talking, as I kept saying hibernation. So I went, let's run through that to show you something. I'm gonna pull it up. I have it on, I just pulled it up on my phone. How hibernation, stasis, why do animals hibernate in the winter? I know people think like a bear hibernates in the winter. Does it really sleep? That's not what it means. So now I see why that inner voice was saying, go to hibernation. So I want to go to two things real quick on hibernation, right? This will help you understand more so what I'm trying to say. And it's very interesting what it says here. First, the basic definition. Hibernation, the condition or period of an animal or plant spending the winter in a dormant state. All right, keep that in your mind there. Grizzly bears gorge on seeds. Say it again.
Oh, I did not just say that.
Yeah, but it just popped in my head. To gorge on seeds to prepare for hibernation, an extended period of remaining inactive or indoors, the fair weather cyclists are emerging from winter hibernation. But here's a deeper meaning. Watch this. What do you mean by hibernation? Okay. Hibernation is a deep sleep that helps them to save energy and survive the winter without eating much. During hibernation, the animal's body temperature drops and its heartbeat and its breathing slow down so that it does not use much energy, right? Now, watch this one, the third one. Is hibernation actually sleeping? Question mark. And I'll tell you why I'm running through all this quick. What is hibernation? Despite what you may have heard, species that hibernate don't sleep during the winter. Hibernation, check it out, is an extended form of torpor, a state where metabolism is depressed to less than 5% of the normal. So we're talking about whether we're talking about the metabolism, eating patterns change, but up here it's also talking about to slow down and reduce the amount of energy that one uses. That's why I want to pause there real quick. Remember what I was saying, when you go on the stat in the very beginning of the video, you're trying to filter out all the thoughts that are pointless and draining your energy, right? And you start to centralize in on your thoughts and you start to realize I stress out about a lot of shit that pulls from my energy. So I want you to apply a spiritual form of hibernation to this. Now I see why I kept hearing it. It kept coming up. I want you to look at spending less energy stressing with thoughts that are pulling from you. Thoughts that may be pointless and don't serve you any growth. Stop feeding into that. And when you identify those thoughts, the challenging thing is, how do you now change the thought process, the pattern? Because as I said in the beginning of the video, yes, it's tough. We're living in a changing world, a fast-paced world, a stressful world. But here's the other flip side to that. Reality is it doesn't matter. You still got to do what you got to do to get your shit together. So look at it a form as mental and spiritual hibernation, right? Though we know an animal does it, right, for multiple purposes as just described, but it's for that same thing about really not wasting your energy on negative personal shit that's negative to you, structuring your thoughts, because that energy must be conserved. So as you come out of that darkness, you can now go into that next phase or stage of transformation. You can't do that if you're being stripped of your power, your energy. And this is why it's very critical when you get to this time of the year that this should be your approach. Now, I never knew why years ago. I do know now. I remember from being a young child that this time of the year always was my favorite time of the year for a multitude of reasons, because there was so many things going on, things to reflect on, whether it was football season, hockey season, the holidays, the weather. I always, I'm older now. I mean, I'm not the snow you can have, but I always loved the cold. All these different factors that I reflect back on now, it was more of an energy thing. It just, to me, seems it's a more, I don't know, mentally uplifting time of year. Now, some people like the reverse. They love summertime and the hot weather. And I mean, I like spring. I like warm weather. I don't care for this ridiculously hot shit. But I'm just saying, everybody has their own niche when it comes to that. But I'm saying, as I've uncovered through my spiritual work, I see now more so why I this is my favorite time of the calendar, as they call it, the Gregorian calendar, because of everything we're talking about here. So it makes sense, right? So look at the hibernation thing, apply that to more of a spiritual thing. So what Raven was saying, what we're talking about, and now hibernation is not, like it said, it's not really actually sleeping, just like stasis, depending on your perspective of it. To the ignorant, they're going to say, oh, stasis and stagnation is a bad thing, right? If you only look at it from one way, yes. But it's also a period of stillness, silence, to reflect, right? To get your thoughts in order. Now, I also referred people a few times over the past few years, if you have the Satanic Ritual book, the Satanic Rituals Companion to the Satanic Bible, go look at the ritual that LaVey and Aquino wrote called The Ritual of the Nine Angles. Now, Toby Chappell, too, put out, to me, a more advanced book on it from really a very more metaphysical and spiritual perspective. I would go look at the sixth angle. This is always something. Now, why the six, right? We know the six is the nine, right? So there's symbolicisms there. There's the breakdown of the angles. And the sixth angle on the nine angles, right, represents stasis, stagnation, right? Now, I believe a few years back we did something on that, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
We did.
Yep, we did.
Yeah, we did a whole ritual on that,
mm-hmm.
if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, go back, take a look at it, and see how you can apply that to what you got going on in your life. Look, I keep trying to tell people, you have to ritualize everything in your life. Now, get the word ritual correct in your mind, right? Ritual simply means to be transformation, transform. Everything you do in your life should be about transforming yourself into something bigger, better, and greater. Not just by materialistic stature, right? But that should be a goal too. But by spiritual growth, right? By uncovering the hidden gnosis of yourself, things about yourself that you did not fully acknowledge, known, or were aware of. Good and bad, though. Let's make that clear. Not just the good shit. I know everybody likes to pat themselves on the back of how great they are. Yeah, we're all, but also, pull up that grimy shit that like I said, that inner reflection and being brutally honest with yourself earlier. That's tough for some people to do, unfortunately. And in my opinion, if you have some level of experience on this path, it shouldn't be anymore. Unless your ego is that fucked up, that you are that hard-headed, that you just, I mean, it shouldn't. Not for a practitioner that got a decent amount of experience. Now, all right, a newer person, I get it. They still got a lot of learning curves and things they got to deal with. But we need to be very conscious and aware, okay, of the destructive parts of our nature and our ego. Because at the end of the day, when you're on a path of self-mastery, there's no fingers pointing away from you. Every finger is pointing towards you. That's the difference of what we do. And that's not everybody's capable of doing it, okay? I know over the last week or so, and I did a video on it a few days ago, which I don't really like to get into political stuff. I know there's some people still caught up in end of the world prophecy and doomsday. I'm just going to keep it real. With this conflict that has popped off in Palestine and Israel. As I said in the video, it doesn't change what we do, because look, bottom line is, if you believe the end of what? That's my question. The end of what? The end of the world and life and how you live as you know it? Of course, that's constantly changing. But none of us should be living in a state of stress or fear to the point where that affects us and distracts us from what we're supposed to be focused on. I'm not, look,
especially on something you can't especially on something that you can't control. If you can't control it, why are you, I mean, heart goes out to the family and the people that had to experience something horrible, have a horrible experience, right? I don't negate that, but if you can't control it, why spend so much of that nervous, stressed out energy on it? You can be aware of it and see how you may have to maneuver, right, in life. That's different. You're just making yourself aware of a situation and understanding where your role is in it. But as Baniti is saying, it's not for you to go into fear mode. That's what you're saying. Exactly. Not to go into fear. Yeah, to go into fear mode, and then all you are doing is listening to what they want you to listen to and get into the state of mind that they want you in. Because when you're in that fear mode, it's not that, it's the wrong kind of, you're in the flight mode, right? When you're not in the correct state of mind, you're not thinking properly. You're not hearing correctly. You're not listening correctly. So once they have you in that kind of mode, it's easier to manipulate and control. So it's okay to be aware of a situation. It's okay to understand that, it's just horrible on all fronts, right? But it's okay to be aware, but not to go down the rabbit hole the wrong way. So I get it,
yeah. So this is why I don't really too much address that stuff, because it can be a distraction, is my point. Okay. I told you when, and look, sad to say, unfortunately, we're probably going to be seeing a lot of different things over the next couple of years that fall in line with this category. And again, not to stress too much time on it. My point is, we need to still stay focused on what it is we're doing, right? Because the reality is, it doesn't change anything you do. You still got to live. You still got to pay your bills. You still got to do the things you need to do in your life until those priorities change. Otherwise, that's just the way it is, right? And I try to keep that simplified because, again, if you want to go out to spooky end of the world, gloom and doom, Bible prophecy, look, I said before, you can take a lot of things and make it look like, to seem like many different things. And this is what a lot of people do, unfortunately, right? We know, outside of leaving the religious stuff, we know there's a political agenda, and we see what these, powerful governments are trying to do for world domination. That's it. Keep it simplified. Don't get spooky with this. Let the religious people have all that end of the world. Jesus is going to crack the sky and all. Let them have that shit. We just see it's greedy ass human beings positioning themselves for power. That's all shit is.
Pretty much.
Unfortunately, it's fucked up because a lot of innocent people are dying in the process. Yeah. So without having, focusing on that too much, we want to, again, get back to what it is we need to be doing. So that's another
good reason to come, not to cut y'all. Here I go again, not to cut y'all. That's another good reason, like, to get around people with like mind, because it's easier to balance that out when you're around people who are focused on doing the right thing, or who are focused on in the moment. the now, as Baniti is basically saying. You can't worry about all of this here. You got to worry about what's going on within and with yourself, with your circumference. You can't go outside of it, can't do anything, it reminds me of something. I was having a conversation with one of my cousins, and they was talking about, they heard something about, I don't know, some people talking about if we all just stop going to work, then things would change. I said, I don't think so. I said, because number A, bills still need to pay. You still need to eat. How are we going to all come together to make sure that bills are still going to get paid? How we eating? Nobody going to work? Is who has the farm? Like, who's sharing the food? People can say all of these things, but their plan is fallible because it's not fully thought out, right? So that's all that to say. I think just getting around people with like minds will help keep the focus where it needs to be.
100%. All right. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to talk for a few more minutes. Questions. Let's because I want to try to keep this to maybe max 2 hours, roughly, depending on the hour and a half to 2 hours. So I kind of just, again, my main reasoning for coming on last minute, kind of a little bit late. Again, I wanted to, to put out what, this time of the year is about. Again, some of you are familiar over the last 5-6 years, why we do the conference this time every year. Well, we're at that cycle again, is where we're at. So if you have any questions on anything, if you want to type some questions in, I'll stay here for a little bit longer. But you got to make sure you come up with some questions. If not, I'm just going to talk for maybe a short more period, maybe up to the hour and a half mark, and then maybe we'll wrap this up. But if you have any questions, go ahead and type them in. I'm going to go to the top of the chat. I'm going to see if there's anything there. Don't see too much in the chat. Just basic stuff. Let me see if there's any questions. Yeah, tomorrow's Friday the 13th. That's right. That's right. Watch out. Watch out for Jason Voorhees wherever you're heading tomorrow. See, I mean, it's funny because you remember how spooked out we used to be about that as kids? Well, I mean, I never really was, but I wasn't either. But
I used to love that.
That was a thing when you were little, like, oh my God, Friday the 13th. But yeah, it's just, again, it's so easy to be indoctrinated, right? All right. See if we got any questions.
Y'all make sure y'all hitting that thumbs up button.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, please hit the likes.
Sure. Yeah, man. It's a matter.
All right, so President Jesse Cather, it says high level of 20-30 minute content you've been pumping out like a machine. Well, I appreciate that. I got 2 more I did today. I'll try to upload those after I get off of here. So there's 2 more of those I shot today. All right, let's see what else we got. Gregor Adimi says the subconscious mind is always aware, always recording. This is so true. Always apprehending, but we don't always have access to it. This is, man, critical statement. See, what you just said is important because they know this. This is why it's very important what you expose your mind to. And what do I mean by that? They know every movie, TV program, book, image, everything you absorb, music you listen to, all of these things, your thoughts, all of these things, as you say, and I like the term you use, recording and apprehending, right? You are storing and stamping all of this, as you say, in your subconscious mind. And you don't always have access to it because there's so many things in line with everything we're talking about tonight that keeps you distracted from that. That was my whole point. Okay? So this is, look, I can't stress enough. Now correlate this to now people who have young children, small children. If you are a person in that category, this is why you can't just throw your kids in front of a TV. This is why you can't just let them watch, go, and do anything they want. Now, I'm not saying, look, I want to make this clear. I'm not saying, shelter them and, be overbearing, but you must set a certain level of discipline. You can't, because when you're just putting them out there to be devoured by wolves and then they turn out fucked up, you can't go, what happened? But this is why I was saying earlier, living in the day and times that we live in now, right? These children are exposed to more shit. Look, I'm not saying, look, by any means, I know some of us, we came up rough. We didn't have it easy. I'm not saying we had it easy peasy, but I think in this day and time, distraction wise, like I've said before, we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have Facebook and social media and Instagram and all this shit that they got access to nowadays, which further is even a more deep, serious distraction. So this is important. If you got kids, it's very important. Don't just throw them out there and expose them to shit that you're not even having any awareness to what they're being exposed to. And look, it applies to us as adults too. Let's be real. As adults, this is why I keep telling people how you manage your time is critical. Because if you're wasting your time on idle bullshit, when I say idle bullshit, shit that basically is not productive, and then you wonder why nothing's getting done, nothing's changing in your life, because all you want to do, look, I want to be careful when I say it. All you want to do is sit around and watch Netflix all fucking day. All you want to do is sit around and gossip. All you want to do is sit around and or on the weekends and just hang out in reckless. Now, I'm not saying don't watch TV, don't watch movies, don't have fun. But I'm saying when that's all you're doing, you can't turn around and go, man, why is nothing changing? Why is nothing happening? Because you ain't doing anything for nothing to change. Okay? So keep that in mind, that comment there by Greg Radimi, right? Your subconscious mind is always aware. It's just you're not always fully aware of it and how it operates. Because the conscious mundane self is always looking for something to absorb. It's always looking for something to entertain it. I use that word entertain because, all right, figure this out. How many times it could have been you in the past or it could be somebody you know? Think of a person like, what does it mean when somebody goes, I'm bored. I'm bored. What are you really saying when you're saying I'm bored? It's your conscious mind saying, I need something to entertain me. I find I don't even know what that is no more. I'm just going to be honest with you. Years ago, yes, when I was in a state of unawareness, yeah, same thing when you're young and dumb, you're a teenager or a young person. Yeah, I'm bored, man. Let's go do something fun, right? But now it's like, to me, what people are calling boredom is like something I relish. I hate to say that. It's like boredom means downtime to me. Time I can focus on myself. I don't look, I don't even know what it means anymore, to be honest with you. Okay. So we have to factor everything in regards to that when it comes to our subconscious mind. That also ties into what I said very early in the beginning of the video. A lot of people think they're past when we were talking, I forgot how it came up earlier about religious indoctrination, something we were talking about in the very early beginning of the video. That's what I meant when I said, yeah, on the conscious surface, a lot of people say, oh, yeah, I'm not a Christian. No, I gave that up years ago. Oh, yeah, no, whatever it is. A lot of us, I could say that, right? Oh, I'm past. Yeah, I grew up a Christian, but I'm past all that. I'm not. Yeah, you may not be going to church. Hopefully not. You may not be going to Bible study. You may not be living that quote unquote Christian lifestyle. But what you may not be aware of in regards to that statement, how much psychological residue is still there. Unknowingly, that's affecting your growth. That you're not aware of. I'm not talking about professing with the tongue. I get that. We all could say that. I could say that. Anybody could say that. Doesn't really mean much. Okay, so that's a good statement.
You will become aware because a situation will come up will make you aware that you were not aware. You would say something, you would do something, and it'll bring it back. You would go, oh, shoot, I thought I was past that because whatever that is. There's going to be a reminder. There's always a reminder. I don't think it just sits back in the shadows.
Correct.
I don't think it just sits back in the shadows. But to that point on the unconscious mind, one of the little things I started doing is because I recognize, that the mind is always feeding, right? It's always recognizing, seeing things. I've started just putting notes everywhere. I don't read them. I don't look at them. Well, I look at them, so I know it registers on a subconscious level, but I don't sit there and read every single note that I may have posted, but it's something to help keep that subconscious mind working in the way that I would like for it to go. But people can do that as well, instead of just around here, letting it free fall. Because as you're saying, everything you expose yourself to, you are absorbing, little mumble rap and all that kind of stuff.
Yep. All right.
The gossip blogs.
What else we got here? All right. So seasons are about change. That's correct. Like the serpent shedding its skin, it signals and is a part of growth, on with the old and in with the new. And the serpent reference is something we've always drawn upon in our ritual work in regards to that. And I believe, I can't remember, we actually use this in the Black Mass of Set that comes right out of the coming forth by day. I can't remember what it's either book 7 or 20. It's one of the early ones. You can go look it up.
Almost.
Yeah, I think it's 7 or 21.
7 was.
Like that.
I was about to say 7 to 27. I was about to say something like that. Yeah.
Actually, no, I think I have it right over here. I should go pull it, because actually, let me go
You
pull it, because
should.
it's perfect for that. I have it
Go
right
pull
here.
it.
Hold on 1 second.
Go. Come on, man. Who all is coming to the conference this year? Is there anyone in the chat? I know I saw Marve's comment.
Yes, actually, it's crazy that comes up, because in a Black Mass of Set, that there's a ritual I wrote a few years ago. Where is it? I got it right here. Here it is. Yeah, and it is 7, by the way. So I don't know why that was in our head, but and here it comes straight from the coming forth by day. I am a long-lived snake. I pass the night, and I am reborn every day. I am a snake which is in the limits of the earth. I pass the night and am reborn, renewed, and rejuvenated every day. Right. So one, it's in reference to the serpent. It's in reference to Apep, right? And what that talks about and symbolizes, because what was said there, a snake always sheds its skin, but it sheds its skin because that skin has, quote unquote, served its purpose, so something new can regrow or remanifest, right? The serpent has to be looked, or the snake, I should say, has to be looked at in a multitude of ways, right? And really, in its venom is a lot of symbolicisms that you can draw upon, because we know venom can be poisonous and kill, but also venom can be healing. It can be a cure to something, which really represents you, in the sense that you can be your greatest asset slash ally, or your most worst enemy and destructive force, right? The serpent energy, or the raising of the kundalini. This is why when you're working with the kundalini or the serpent energy, it can be very blissful, and all those uplifting types of aspects that you tap into the energy, but it can also be very painful, intense, and destructive, right? That's in essence what we draw upon from those meetings. Okay. Ruben C says, "Hi, have any of you read books on Dolores Cannon? Any thoughts on the New Earth theory?" No, I haven't read. I gazed on some stuff a little while back. I know she dealt with past life regression. I believe she was like a clinical hypnotherapist, but I know one of her specialties was past life regression. But I got to be honest with you, no, I have not thoroughly really read any of her books, so I will have to go back, and take a look. So I don't want to speak on things and not be fully factual. So me myself, no, I have not really read any. To a degree, I'm aware of who she is, but I'm not going to be. I'm going to be honest. I haven't really read any of her books, so I will have to check that out, look into it further. Lady Shalice, what's going on? I know it's an absolute attack on our children's spiritual and mental health attempts to distort and destroy them in the most extreme ways possible eternally, which only leads to horrific consequences. Oh, most definitely. Okay. Most definitely. And now, that's what I meant earlier when I was saying, now they have all of this technology to do it easier, where, not saying that they weren't doing it back then, but it was a little bit different because, and let me give you an example of what I mean, just so people are clear. I believe the difference between this generation and, say, our era, our generation, we were more creative. We did things. We went outdoors. We created games from literally nothing. We would use whatever we had at our disposal. We were constantly active, creative. Our minds were constantly fluctuating, thinking. The problem that's happened now, it's crazy. And I got to go back to something that I heard, if you're familiar with Ed Lover Ed Lover from MTV fame, Ed Lover and Dr. Dre. And he talked about how this generation, in reference to the music, but I'm going to correlate it to this, is very dumbed down and lethargic. And that shit resonated me when he said that. He said, this is why it's reflecting in the music. And this is why I joke, but when you listen to like this mumble crap, it almost sounds like they're doped up or something. Like it's these kids are programmed at such an early age now, and they have many weapons of attack that they can get to them. That's why I was saying earlier, what's the tablet? How many times you see the tablet's almost a form now of a parent basically, here, don't fucking bother me. Here's a tablet, right? And do you know how much access they have at their hand? We didn't have that shit. We had to be outside. We had to be playing, creating games, staying active. The problem is these kids don't do that no more. That's part of the problem. The way that things are set up now, it's almost like they don't have much of a choice because everything is laid out in front of them. Okay. Everything is laid out smack dead in front of them. And they have to basically, quote unquote, I always say they create the illusion that you have choices, but you really don't. You really don't. And now, here's the crazy thing. and again, I don't want nobody to take this the wrong way, but I have to be honest with you. Now there's an agenda where if it's not critical race theory, it's cancel culture. It's this, and again, I got to bring it up, and I don't want nobody to get offended, and I'm not saying, but I got to bring it. And then it's this transgender stuff, right? And again, I'm whatever your preference is, your sexual preference, whatever you identify with. But the problem is, if anybody speaks out in opposition to it, they're automatically labeled either prejudiced, racist, hateful. It's like nobody can have an opinion anymore. Nobody can have an opinion about anything anymore because you're immediately going to be attacked. And these small children with social media, as I've mentioned before, cyberbullying. This shit is crazy. Do any of us here from my age or generation close to it, did you ever think you would ever hear something called cyberbullying? This shit is crazy. And if you go, sadly to say, if you go do the research, you will find over the years, small children have hung themselves and committed suicide because they were being bullied at school and being bullied on the internet. And I remember about a year or so ago, not too long ago, I read a story about a 6-year-old kid. And the thing that's fucking mind-boggling to me, what would make a 6-year-old consciously think about and planning and actually carrying out killing himself? That shit is crazy to me. Because the reason why I say it's crazy to me, I understand. You might be going, Benita, it's the world we live in. It's not crazy. I don't say it in that regards. I say it and look back to, I couldn't even comprehend myself being that young, thinking about ever thinking in any shape, form, or fashion of doing anything like that, anything in regards to that. But they're up against shit that is just, it's fucking mind-boggling, man. It really is. It's mind-boggling completely. Okay. What else we got? Eric Jones says, thoughts on companion spirits and servitor from a left-hand path view. I just recently did a video on that. Just give you my quick thoughts, but I would go watch that video, creating servitors using chaos magic. Now, it's a very effective method if you again are creating it specifically designed, because remember, you're unlocking a portion of your psyche. What you're doing is tapping into a portion of your psyche and creating these servitors based on specific needs, right? So really, they're a product of your mind and your imagination and your psyche, right? So it can be very powerful if how you construct them is in alignment with your spiritual growth, more so your needs than just your wants. Now you can create and people do it for specific wants and desires. But I would just, I personally, in my opinion, I think servitors work best when they're geared more towards your needs. Now, again, you could have a different opposition that maybe some people just create them for the opposite. But I think it's a very effective tool. But I would refer you to go watch that video. Libra No, look at some of Peter Carroll's work. There's a bunch of good information out there on how to do that, but I think chaos magic is perspective from it, to me, is probably the most effective way to do it. Companion spirits, servitors, pretty much fall in that same category. Now, I also connected this, or you can connect this to when an individual, a companion spirit, which really, to an extent, your personal daemon or your higher true self can be kind of connected to that, because when you look at the personal daemon and the true or the higher self, which is the real you, right? I look at this in reverse, and it's just my perspective on it. You're kind of the companion to the personal daemon. It's not the reverse, because the personal daemon is truly who and what you are, right? So you've been along with this ride. You're the companion in the sense that you're walking with the daemon, and you've been under the illusion for many years that it's you, but it's It's not really you, right? One of the goals is to uncover these aspects of ourselves. So when you're talking about a servitor spirit or a companion spirit, you are just unlocking aspects of your personal daemon, the real you, right? Because all that creative intuitiveness, when you sit there and you contemplate and you think about creating a servitor or a companion spirit for a specific reason, that's all the working of the personal daemon within. That's why I say that. Okay. All right. William Thomas says, how come you don't cover or talk about goetic spirits too much? Is that an older topic for you? And did you do goetic? I mean, I talk about it here. That I've never really done full-fledged videos on the Goetias or the 72 goetic spirits. It's definitely something I can visit. I don't really deal with it. The problem that I do have with it more modern day times, and I've said this, a lot of books on the Goetia until recently, the last 15 to 20 or so more years, were written. A lot of them, those early books were written by Christians. And this is why when you're getting into the Goetias, more when you're dealing with that Pentacles of Solomon, and that's cool and everything. Now, like you say, more from a left-hand path, right? It goes a little bit deeper. Now, I can say in draconian magic, there's goetic work we do that goes a little more deeper, intense when working with these goetic spirits or demons in relationship to nature, spirituality, and your growth. So, no particular reason why I have or haven't. It's something we can revisit, but it would be more obviously from an occult left-hand path perspective. I'm not into all that Pentacles of Solomon shit, and because the problem I have with that is it connects you back to religion. And I find people that work with the Goetias and connecting it to the Pentacles of Solomon and all that, which is fine because there's a connection when you go beyond who Solomon actually was. I find people get a little bit too religious with it, right? Because now we're back to which one of our goals is trying to remove ourselves from, right? And that's religion. And I'm not saying that you asked that question from that perspective. So long story short, no particular reason. It's something that we could look at maybe. Actually, when I do my clepothic demonic readings, I work with 3 pantheons, right? Just to give you an idea. And the first one of those pantheons are the 72 Goetia. The second one are the 12 princes of hell. And the third are the archdemons, right? In correlation, because in essence, the Goetias or the lords of darkness, as I call them, they represent the lower aspect of yourself, right? They represent your conscious mundane self. The 12 princes of hell bridge the lower and the higher, right? And then you have the archdaemon, which represents the high and the truest self, right? That's the real you. So when I'm doing a clepothic demonic reading, just for those that know what that type of reading involves, I'm working with those 3 aspects of the self, right? And a lot of the stuff that we tap into, that we get stuck in, right? It gives us a clearer understanding of how those 3 aspects correlate and work within us. But yeah, that's the reason. So that's something we could revisit. All right. Any other questions? Looks like looks like I don't see any other questions. So I'll give you about another minute or two. Like I said, this ain't going past 2 hours. We're at 1 hour and 40 minutes. So I don't see any more questions.
Yeah, I'm gonna bounce out. I had a long day.
Okay.
I'm gonna bounce. It was nice to come through with this. It was nice to come through, see the people.
Assalamu alaikum.
Okay.
Assalamu alaikum.
Like Islam. Zaiken. Okay.
All right.
Yeah. No.
We'll talk soon. Appreciate you coming
through.
Stopping
no worries. It was good seeing everyone. Peace.
All right. So yeah, I give you guys a couple more minutes. I'm gonna wrap this up. I'm not gonna keep this too long. But I don't see really any other questions. All right. So maybe we will keep it there. But yeah, so this kind of again gives you, where we're at, what we're doing. And again, what we need to be focused on, man. Right. have a purpose, have an intent of what it is you're doing, right? Ask yourself, why are you on this path? You know, what is it you're trying to accomplish? What do you think you're going to gain from being on this path? What's your reason for being here? Okay. And I'm saying all that to say, because that's going to define your purpose. And if you can't answer those questions quickly to yourself, and you might want to reevaluate what's going on. You must be clear cut of what your purpose is, why you're here, why you're doing what you're doing. Okay. I can't stress that enough, because it's funny how, like, you know, if I run into somebody and we're having a conversation, I like to ask them that question. I do. And it's interesting, some of the responses you get. Some of the shit's really vague. Like, people go, well, I'm here because I want to grow. All right, that's very vague. Like, be more in depth. Grow at what? Right? Obviously, we're all here because from where we came from wasn't doing the job, didn't satisfy us to the full extent. We didn't get the answers that we were looking for. Right? Ask yourself that. What made you embark upon this path? Why are you here? And don't be saying no stupid shit like, I want to be so powerful and I came here to do sex magic to get tons of booty. Okay? No. I mean, look, you get your booty, do what you want, but I'm just saying, first and foremost, I can't stress this enough. And again, it's what I've built the Patreon page on. The 5 points of self-mastery is my way of summarizing why you should be here on this path. And that's my clear-cut answer. When somebody asks me, Baniti, why are you into this thing called the occult, the left-hand path, darkness, demons, spirits, this, that, and the other, outside of what we have uncovered factually, right? My simple answer is to master myself spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, and financially. That's simple. It's that simple. That's why I'm here. That's why I study this path. That's why I have a burning desire to learn and grow. It's my motivation for doing ritual work. It's that simple. But when you're coming up with mundane, well, you know, because I want to be a big dick sorcerer, and and this superficial bullshit, it's the wrong reasons, people. Because as I've said before, all that materialistic shit, trust me when I tell you, it comes. I'm not saying you're just going to sit around and everything. I'm saying the doors, the roads, and the avenues open for those things when that's not your first focus. When your first focus is getting your mind right, getting this right first, and dealing with what's in here on all levels first and foremost, when that's your number one priority, it just seems like everything takes the order that needs to be taken of how things proceed after that. Contrary to belief, what's out there, I see all the dumb shit, and I got to call it for what it is. If you're just here to do mundane, materialistic bullshit, I'm not saying you ain't going to get some results, and I'm sure many people have. I'm not saying certain things going to happen, but I can guarantee you this: long term, it's not. And you're going to see inconsistent waves of up and down, up and down, up and down, because your intent is not in the right place. Okay? And that's important, because when we talk about being in sound mind and sound body, yes, it's talking about mental health overall, but it's also talking about making sound decisions that are focused on the essential needs that you need to address in order for you to spiritually grow and evolve. That's how you're supposed to create your ritual work. Because it baffles me when people go, oh, what should I be doing? I'm not sure. What kind of ritual work should I be doing? That's a little disturbing to me. Then that shows me, one, you're not doing shadow work. Two, you are not truly in tune with the real you. Because if you knew really who you truly were, now I'm not talking about the superficial bullshit you that you've been portraying yourself for years, because of reasons known and unknown. I'm talking about you can't know the real you. So I could sit here in a matter of a minute or two and tell you exactly what I need to work on and what type of rituals I need to create and design to do that work. It's that simple. If you're just randomly doing, oh, let me do a ritual with Bilal because I like Bilal. Well, maybe you're dealing with a lot of psychological shit you haven't addressed, and working with Bilal may not be the most effective thing to do at that moment. It could be if it's geared towards your needs, but maybe you're working for something completely away from that could be more detrimental to your growth than helpful. Okay. And this just comes with an awareness of self, right? I know each and every time I go work a ritual, there's a specific purpose and intent for it. As I said before, majority of the rituals I work is for spiritual knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, or beyond the standing, as I like to say now. To uncover that hidden gnosis, the mysteries of life and death, spiritual wisdom, right? Because like the parable of Solomon, when Solomon was asked in the biblical story of you can have anything in the world you want, what did he ask for? Right? Did he ask for all the money in the world, all the gold and riches? Right? To prove my point, what I said earlier. No, he asked for the wisdom first. And then what happened? Once he got the wisdom, all of that shit came afterwards. The wealth, the money, the gold, the resources. He became the biggest international player and pimp. He had harems of hoes everywhere. So he didn't need to do sex magic work. He didn't need to do ritual work for money because he asked for the wisdom. And when he asked for the wisdom or the knowledge, whatever category you want to place it in, because they're connected. Because knowledge is to know, wisdom is how you apply that knowledge and what you know. So when Solomon got the wisdom and the knowledge and he was able to apply that wisdom, I'm saying according to the parable, everything else was given to, which in line ties into that biblical quote in Matthew, right? If we could take that from an esoterical perspective. And what does that biblical quote say in Matthew chapter 6, verse 33? Seek ye first the kingdom of God. I interpret that as the knowledge and the wisdom and all his righteousness, right? And all things shall be added unto you, right? Apply that more from an occult perspective, because these are things we utilize these concepts in the esoterical occult Bible study class. That's what that really means. When you seek the knowledge first, especially knowledge of self, all of those things will be added unto you. But when you come in reverse, backwards, and you want to come in and do Mr. Big Dick magic, or you want to come in and do, wealth magic, and I want to do a ritual to get the latest BMW magic, 9 out of 10 times that shit don't work. I know it might be somebody else. Well, I did it and it worked. Okay, I'm saying percentage-wise over a consistent pattern, it's not going to work. Okay, it's not going to work at all. And it's not the right approach. So that's why look at the parable of Solomon and look at that quote symbolically, right? Solomon could have said, I want all the gold on the planet. I want all the riches, right? That's what probably the most mundane person would say, and more than likely would lead them down a path of self-destruction, because a lot of people think they're ready to handle extreme large amount of wealth. And sometimes that could be toxic and destructive to an individual who don't know how to utilize that productively. But no, the wisdom was asked for first. And I always bring that up to people, especially when I'm having religious conversations with people. I'm having conversations with people who are religious, right? Because they always go, and here's where I catch them. They always go, well, Solomon was wise in his wisdom and this and that. And God, they always paint Solomon to be this, very wise prophetical prophet or figure in the Bible. But I said, well, what about the fact that he was a straight pimp and hoe? And then they look at me crazy. Well, what do you mean? It's just my way of joking around and saying, well, he had harems of hoes everywhere he went. So what's your thoughts on polygyny? What's your thoughts on Solomon having multiple women? And man, listen, man, the whole narrative starts to change. Well, you see, brother, back in the well, hold on. Now, think about this for a minute. The only prophet in the Bible that didn't have multiple wives, according to them, and the marriage thing with who they character they call Jesus is another story. But I'm saying, if we stay in line with the theme and narrative of their biblical ideology, the only prophet that they claimed didn't have multiple wives was Jesus, right? So at what point did that change or become something today here in the West, okay, that is like taboo or forbidden? Because I always bring that up and I go, well, and I do it again just to get under their skin. I'll say shit like, well, Solomon was a master pimp and God loved him. Well, see, brother, in the Old Testament, it's so convenient for them, the Old Testament and New Testament shit, when they got a point that they're trying to validate, right? It's always convenient to separate the two and make it look like one has nothing to do with the other. You can't pick and choose. It doesn't work like that. But long story short, seeking the knowledge should always be your first priority. Period. Okay? Period. Because some people have a warped concept of what this path is about. They're under the illusion it's a snap your finger fix all, poof, and all your problems will go away. And I want to make that clear. If you're a newer person out there, you're just scratching the surface of the path, or you're really thinking about traveling this path, anybody that's promoting it as a quick fix or it's easy or things are going to change overnight for you, please don't believe that shit. I can tell you it's a very rewarding path, but it is work. It is effort. It is energy. It is time. And if you're not willing to be serious on that level, then you're gonna get your feelings hurt. I'm just gonna be honest with you. So, and you've never heard me from any point from day one ever promote it as something such, as a quick fix, because it's not. If anything, at first, when you get on this path in the beginning stages, it becomes very complicated and difficult, because if you really have cracked the surface, you have brought up all the shit you've been suppressing about yourself that you've buried, that is bad, that are character flaws, that are weaknesses, that are self-destructive behavior, right? So if anything, in the initiatory beginning stages, excuse me, it could be a bumpy ride, folks. So anybody that's promoting this shit as, oh, it's easy, it's not, especially in those early stages. Does it get better as time goes on? Of course it does. I look at where I'm at after putting in the amount of years I put. Yes, bullshit still happens. Yes, chaos and drama still finds its way to penetrate through. But the difference is now I'm more well equipped to deal with it, of all of the knowledge that I've amassed and the weapons that I have now that I didn't have back then. So I'm not going to paint a picture like, oh, you get to a certain stage on this path where everything just disappears and you don't deal with no bullshit, no drama. I'd be lying to you if I told you that. But what I can tell you is something maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, a year ago, whatever, prior to coming on this path that used to be a thorn in your side or something that was very destructive or affected you or bothered you because you couldn't overcome or master it, I can tell you that same thing more than likely today is something simple for you to resolve, because you're at a whole different level mentally and spiritually. That's the difference. That's growth. That's change. When you're locked in on that level, that's how you know. Okay? Everything isn't an obstacle anymore, right? So it's almost like you're prepared, you're ready. So when shit does come down the pike, it's very easy for you to get into that war mode where I'm prepared, I'm ready. Okay. All right. I think that's going to wrap it up for me. I don't see any more questions. I don't want to just keep rambling on, talking. What does it say? William, have you worked a lot with Tata and the he? I've noticed he isn't on. Not sure why he's not on social media. Yes, I do. As far, I mean, I consider him a close friend. I have done some work with him in the past. Yes, but he, as you know, he still resides in New York. We stay in frequent contact. That's probably to the extent I've had him join me in some classes on African witchcraft and sorcery, which he will be joining me soon again on the next one. Why he's on social media anymore, I don't know. I'll check on him. I haven't spoke to him in a few weeks. We usually touch base, or he'll reach out to me at least every 3 to 4 weeks or so, and vice versa. But I'll double check. Not sure. I know sometimes people just get off of social media because they just don't want to be fucking bothered, right? And I can attest myself, and sometimes people, for whatever reason, they find my personal Facebook. I don't accept any requests on my personal Facebook, so don't bother. It's nothing personal. I have a Primordial Chaos Facebook page. If it's anything, I try to keep those two things separate. My personal Facebook page, and that's why my page is private, because I only use that to communicate with direct family and friends, more so people that are out of state, people that I don't have access to see all the time anymore. So I keep that very personal and family orientated. So let me just put that out there. I know several, people will reach out and try to connect with me through my personal Facebook. I'm not going to accept any requests on there. Okay. That's just for very immediate family and friends. Again, nothing personal. If you want to hook up with me on Facebook, go to the Primordial Chaos Facebook page. That's the way to communicate with me, through Facebook. If you want to connect with me, I don't have a personal Instagram. But if you want to connect with me on Instagram, connect with Primordial Chaos 9 on Instagram, which we are broadcasting live on both of those platforms right now. Here on YouTube, email. I don't take any personal requests for my private personal Facebook page. I don't even like Facebook. I just use it as a tool to keep in contact with friends and family that are not local. That's it. So just if you've sent me a request in the past and I didn't respond, that's the reason. Okay. But yes, William. Yeah, he is from New York. Still lives there. I'm gonna check on him now that you said that. I'll shoot him. Matter of fact, let me double check. I'll shoot him a text now to make sure he's okay. You brought that up. Let me just make sure, just so that don't bother me. Hold on. See if I get a hold of him. I just sent him a text. Let me see if he responds. But that's the best answer I can give you for that. All right. All right. I think, I don't really see anything else. All right. I think we will. All right. And we're almost at the 2-hour mark. All right. I don't think there's any other questions. Let me just see, make sure I didn't miss anything. I don't think so. All right. So real quick. Oh, there it goes right there. Yeah, he just texted me. He's good. All right. I'll try to give him a call when I get some more time. But he's good. Just sent me a text back. Everything's good. All right. Having said that, I do not see any more questions. So again, we got the conference next week. We are a week out. You still can attend if you want to come. It'll take place, not counting the meet and greet, but the 20th, 21st, and 22nd. That'll take place here in Hollywood, Florida. Again, it's a fun time. There are some fun things we do. We kind of kick it, have some fun, things of that nature. Hold on, that's brother texting me back again. So yeah, if you want to attend, again, you could also attend virtually, like I said earlier, and like I've been promoting in all the videos. If you're interested in attending either way, shoot me an email and I'll send you the information of how you can sign up and register. If you're interested in booking a reading or a consultation, all that information is on the bottom of the screen. There is no, I know some people have reached out to me and asked, well, what's the cutoff date that you can sign? Really, the cutoff date is the day before, maximum. We could take it up to the very last day. It's fine. If you're going to make that decision, really, you got a few days left. I mean, there's not really much more time. If you know you're coming, I would think you would know by now for the most part. But what's up? You good? All right. For the most part, last year I think we had a couple of very late people sign up, but really no cutoff, so you don't need to worry about that as we approach this final week. And also for those that do see this video, I'll be reaching out to you in the next couple of days with the digital itinerary like we did last year. It's just a very convenient, effective method. Each and every one of you will get a digital itinerary emailed to you, and then you can save that and download it to your phone. And it's broken down for each day, what goes on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So it gives you, an itinerary with the times on it to follow. So everybody that did sign up and register that's coming in person, you will in the next few days, probably by the middle of next week, Wednesday, Thursday, the latest, you will get your digital itinerary. You'll know what starts when, where, the time of the breaks. Both days, like last year, we break for lunch at noon. We're strict on the lunch, though. You just want to make sure you take that hour and get back. Some people wander off, and you can get caught up out here in Fort Lauderdale with the food. So you got to make sure you get back on time, because every year we always think we have enough of time, and there's so much shit to cover, and sometimes we just can't get to everything, and we have to kind of condense things. So I'm trying to avoid that. Like I said earlier, if you weren't on earlier, we've kind of changed it up a little bit this year. We've added more hands-on rituals and more things we can engage in. And then we're doing on the second night and outdoor working in a cemetery, which is going to be some good stuff. Trust me when I tell you. Not for if you're afraid of darkness, and the cemetery is probably not something you want to be involved in. But we will be doing that on the second night. The last few years, we've done workings at the beach, which I know I kind of do that because we get people that come from different places and may not have access to or get a chance to go to the beach all the time. But I want to kind of change that up this year. I don't want to do the same. Not that it's ever been the same. We do different stuff over the years. But the setting, I want to move away from the beach setting more so this year. If you're coming down, you'll have plenty of time to visit the beach. It's minutes away. So if you want to engage in the beach, you'll have plenty of time to do that. For those that don't have access to a beach, I know that's one of the first things people want to do when they come to Florida. The beach, the beach, the beach. But contrary to belief, we're here all the time. The beach really ain't that fascinating to us anymore. I enjoy the beach more at nighttime, right? I don't really get enjoyment out of it. I don't know how people go to the beach in the middle of the day, beaming hot. That shit is just frustrating and aggravating to me. But there's something about sunset into the evening hours where there's a lot of good, powerful energy on the beach. That's the time we do our drummings, right? And it's nothing like being out there when it's nice and dark and you just got the water and the sounds of the water. And then if it's a clear night, You get lucky, you get stars and the moon and just that natural light. It's a very ambient vibe. I prefer that type of beach setting than all that just blazing hot sun, hot sand. It's not into that shit. But like I say, to us that are here, it's crazy because my friends, people in New York that are still close with, talk to all the time. It's funny how they think like that's what we do here. Like everything is. It's like, no, there's real life shit going on here too. It's not a beach party every fucking day. But again, I've never been fascinated with that shit anyway. So yeah, we've changed it up, cemetery working. So we got some good stuff planned. But again, for those that did sign up, look for those itineraries and then, to the midpoint of next week, my bad. So don't fret, because I know you guys are probably asking the itinerary. You'll have it. We're just putting now the format together. We pretty much got what we're doing. We're just putting the order together. Then we're going to put a nice digital itinerary with some little bit of artwork on it. And we're going to get that stuff out to you guys soon. So I'm looking forward to seeing you guys that are attending. I will post some more videos throughout the week. I have a couple I recorded today. I will try to upload them in the next hour or so, as soon as I get off of here in the next few minutes. Okay. All right. I don't see any other questions. I think we're going to wrap this puppy up. I appreciate you guys tuning in. I appreciate you guys supporting the Patreon page. I appreciate you guys supporting the Instagram, the Facebook, the YouTube. I thank all you guys. For those, again, if you are on the Patreon, you should have got the notice earlier today. I rescheduled the class, the Sith Dark Side Alchemy and Philosophy class that was supposed to take place earlier this evening has been rescheduled for this upcoming Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, okay? I did send the notification out. I made the change. So for everybody that's on the Primordial Chaos Patreon page, I will see you guys Saturday afternoon in class. All right, and then that will probably be the last thing I do until the beginning of the following week, because then after that, it's going to be pretty much focusing on the conference and getting that finished, and then we'll go from there. I will squeeze some of the mentorship calls, a couple of them here and before, but it won't be too many. Just be patient with me over the next week. It's going to be very hectic and busy. So if I don't respond to your emails right away, please just be patient, all right? Once we get through the end of next week, we'll be back to normal, all right? Fraternal blessings, and we will talk soon.